Hey everyone, welcome to tonight's stream. We're gonna give a couple, about 2 minutes here. Stream just went live, and we are going to let people. All right, we already see some people coming in, so we are going to let everybody else join. Tonight we are going to be talking about the consolidating some credit card debt using the equity in your home. So pretty exciting. I'm actually going to use an actual story from a loan that I am currently writing right now, and it's pretty cool story for the borrower, alleviating a lot of credit card debt and actually helping build their net worth. So we'll get started here in about 1 minute. And so in the meantime, we'll just sit tight, and I will get started, like I said, here in about a minute. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started here. So again, my name is Michael Swigert. I'm a loan officer at Top Flight Financial. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Today we are going to talk a little bit about consolidating our credit card debt using the equity in our home. And if we know anything about the market in the past 12, 18, 24 months, is that home values have skyrocketed. A lot of people have called about, possibly selling their home, but moving, but there's nothing on the market. So they're looking and hey, I have all this equity, I should sell. And I've been turning the conversations on, hey, you have all this equity, why not look at either A, consolidating some of our debt to put us in a better financial spot, or B, using the equity we have in our home to create or help raise our net worth. All right, so tonight we're going to talk a little bit about that. I am going to pull up a spreadsheet, so if you are bored by spreadsheets, I apologize, but unfortunately, that's what we're going to look at tonight. Again, if you have any questions, you're able to drop it in the chat here, or send it to me directly via email. So everybody should have my email, especially if you registered for the event. So all the people that did register for this stream, you do have my email address. So any questions, like I said, you can drop it in the chat, and we can go from there. So, and we will go ahead and get started. And the first thing I have to say is that as a licensed loan officer, we need to make sure that everything I show up on the screen is it comes as may not be what you would experience, or maybe the quote that you would get, or the rate you would get, the scenario that you would have. So take it with a grain of salt. Now, I am going to use a real example of what a customer is going through right now. So a customer that my team is refinancing right now. That's the scenario we'll use, and it's a pretty cool situation. I've done this plenty of times, and it's something that I get excited about, and it's again, so keep your hopes down, because it is a spreadsheet. So we're gonna go ahead and get started with that. Let me pull up here, and we will transition to the spreadsheet. So you should be able to see a spreadsheet here, something that I created, very simple. Looking at it right now, it may not make sense, but we're going to go ahead and bust through this, and Hopefully, I can make sense of it for you. I talk about this stuff all the time, all day until I'm blue in the face. So we want to make sure that you guys understand it. So if you have any questions, again, drop it in the chat. If you do, we'll like I said, go ahead and get started with this though. So this is a current situation that I have going on right now. A borrower called me looking at actually refinancing their mortgage because they heard that rates were low. Which they are lower than what this borrower currently has. But then we started to get to talking. She's about 6 years away from retirement, looking at just a single person, looking at having their house paid off in 13 years. Okay, so that's kind of important to remember. So in 13 years, that's how much they have left. And the first question I asked was, how much do you owe on your mortgage? And it was right around $89,000. And they had 13 years left. So that's, again, important to remember. But they had $89,000 outstanding balance on their mortgage. And they also had their monthly payment with property taxes and insurance at $975 a month. All right. And their current interest rate was 5.25%. So they were paying, haven't refinanced since they purchased the property. This is the same rate that they got 17 years ago when they bought. And 13 years left. So she was looking at possibly going down to a 15 or a 10, lowering the rate, maybe lowering the payment. So then we started looking, pulled credit, and had the conversation like, well, all right, you only owe $89,000. And I thought she was actually going to, I had to make sure she was still on the phone when I told her that it looks like that her home that was located in Worcester, 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, was probably worth north of $200,000. Actually, I said north of possibly $250,000. So I'm sorry, 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath. And she didn't believe me. And I said, well, we will order an appraisal but you have a substantial amount of equity in your home. So then we pull the credit. We then see that she has $35,000 in outstanding credit cards. And this is a little tough because when we do pull the credit, we start adding up the total amount of credit cards. That is when it gets a little tough on the borrower because they may not realize, right? You guys may not realize that we have that much outstanding in credit cards. So combine all of the credit cards, $35,000, and their monthly payment on all those, just the minimums, we were looking at $950. So that was just the minimums. You get your slip in the mail that it says if you make the minimum payment, this is how long it'll take for you to pay it off. So that's something you always want to remember, right? So if I'm just making that minimum payment, it's going to take me quite a bit of time. I mean, it may tell you it's 7 years, 11 years, whatever it is, depending on how much you have on that certain credit card. And then we looked, did have an auto loan. Okay, she had an auto loan. Her payment was $475 a month on that, and she had $13,000 left. And she did get that. Credit score is a little bit lower. So she did have that at 9.99%. That was the auto loan rate. Okay, so that may be something. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, wow, $475 a month. That's quite a bit. Let's see what we can do as far as possibly throwing that into, because that, it's a higher interest rate. Yeah, there's $13,000 left on it, but I can't imagine how much interest she is paying a month on that. And last but not least, we talked about being about 5 years away from retirement, 5 or 6 years. Still had a student loan balance. And the student loan balance, the payment was $300 and the balance was $35,000. Okay. Interest rate, that varied, but they were in the low 4s, mid 4s. So what I've been advising people is like, okay, first of all, yeah, they're talking about forgiving some student loans. Don't know if that's ever going to happen. But maybe student loans, we do want to take a look at that and possibly alleviating that debt burden, because especially if we're talking about retirement, if we're talking about maybe moving in, starting a family, moving into our dream home, whatever it may be in the next couple of years, we want to build, getting rid of that student loan debt, just having that paid off is really going to help your financial freedom going forward. So this is what her credit report looked like. This is what she, as a person on to creditors, look like. She is paying roughly combined $2,700 a month. Okay, so what we see over here is this little table to the right. The total monthly debt obligation, $2,700. That is what she's paying total on all of these, and that is to pay it off. right? But what we said about the credit cards, $950 a month is what she's paying in credit card debt, and who knows how long it's going to take to pay off. The total debt balance, so she's carrying a balance on everything at $172,000. Okay, $172,000, and that debt rate, so the average debt rate right there is about 24.865%. So the average rate, and if you look at this table, you'll see, well, yeah, most of that balance is carried on by the current mortgage. Well, maybe not most of it. At 172, that's pretty close to about half. And that's actually, if my math serves me right, I believe that is half. So, no, not half, but very close. So, looking at that your average debt rate, I mean, quite a bit of our debt is at a high percentage rate, and that's something that we need to tackle, and that's what we're doing with the equity. This borrower was not making any extra payments, minimum payment so that just their mortgage payment. They were making minimum payments on their credit card. They were making just this minimum monthly payment for their auto loan, and then their student loans deferment, and now they're out of deferment and just paying the minimum payment on that. So the borrower is going to pay this off roughly, it was a while. Let's just say that they were going to be paying all of this off still into retirement, except the auto loan, but no extra payments. So their monthly budget right now, they're spending $2,700 per month, and they are the nice part about it is they were fine. Okay, so this is the key to it, is that they were never late. This borrower never missed a payment on any of their obligations, and that is important because, yeah, it's tight, yeah, it's rough, yeah, they're still getting by though. The $2,700, they would love to free up some monthly payment, right? But they were never late or behind on their payments. Get the appraisal back. Okay, now we're going to look at a proposed refinance, right? So now we see what their current debt obligation is. We see what their current financial, their financial health is, and the appraisal comes back $275,000. That was pretty. It was a good time to talk about that with the borrower. I think they were pleasantly surprised. And what we do know about cash out refinances is that the maximum loan to value, meaning the maximum amount you can borrow when utilizing a cash out refinance, is 80% of the appraised value. So if the house appraises for $100,000, you're allowed to borrow $80,000. If it's $200,000, you're allowed to borrow $160,000. In our case here, this borrower is allowed to borrow $220,000. Now, this is where a lot of people kind of get mixed up and they get confused with the cash out refinance. They say, all right, I am going to get a $220,000 loan. You're going to give me $220,000? No, I'm going to give you $220,000, and then I need to pay off your current mortgage. So that's important. I have to pay off your current mortgage, and then the remaining balance is yours to use. You use it for your monthly debts that you want to pay off, right? Credit cards, student loans, auto loans, anything. You can use it to fix up your house, and then you're also able to use it to pay your closing costs on the refinance. In this scenario, we need $172,000. Okay, $172,000 is what will pay off our total debt balance. $172,000 will pay off our mortgage, will pay off our credit card, will pay off the auto loan, and will also pay off the student loans. On this refinance, borrower is actually utilizing a 4.625% rate, going for 360 months or 30 years, and their payment with property taxes and insurance on a $172,000 loan was $1,325 a month. Okay. Now, we're going to jump over here. Okay. Now, this is important to remember. So, again, this is where people start to get confused. $1,325 a month is their new monthly payment. First objection. Well, my mortgage payment is going up. As you see, current mortgage, $975. My new mortgage is going up $1,325. So that is first objection. I get it. Yeah, you're right. Your mortgage payment is going up. But like we talked about earlier, what about the $950 a month we're paying in credit cards? What about the $475 on the auto loan and also the $300 on student loans? So if you see this bottom number here. This is the difference in monthly payments. So now we see that, okay, hold on a second. I was paying $2,700. Now I'm paying $1,325, and I just freed up $1,375 in my monthly budget, right? And that's huge. That's huge because what that can do now, everybody just thinks, oh man, well, yeah, I did extend it out 30 more years, but look, I now have $1,300 extra a month. That can help me out a lot. Absolutely can. Absolutely can. But what I try to do, what my team tries to do is talk to the borrower. Hey, you told me that your monthly budget was tight, but you were okay. I see that you've never missed any payments. What about paying a little bit extra? What if we pay a little bit extra per month and try to on the principal and try to tackle this a little bit quicker? Okay, so if we do, let's just say $200, right? So we're saving $1,375. So now we're going to be saving $1,175 a month. Still $1,100 we're saving in our monthly budget. And we pay an extra $200 on the principal. Okay, so hopefully everybody follows me here. We're saving we're paying our $1,325. We no longer have any debts over here. We just have our mortgage, our refinance, and we're saving $1,375. I'm going to pay an extra $200 a month on my mortgage. And why am I going to do that? Well, because when I pay extra on the principal, it then takes time off of my loan. So what that tells me is, do some quick math here. If I just make an extra $200 a month payment on my new mortgage payment, I will now have my loan paid off in 20 and a half years. So I knocked 10 years off. I knocked 9.5 years off of my loan just by paying $200 extra a month. But here's the coolest part. I'm still up $1,100 a month. I still have $1,100 left over in my monthly budget from where I was before I did the refinance. Okay. Now let's say, what if we took $1,000? So what if we actually paid $1,000 extra per month and we still had $375 extra in our budget? Would that help us out? Absolutely. So let's take a look. Let's take a look what that would do real quick. Drum roll, please. If I paid an extra $1,000 a month on this, we would be. All right. We would be completely debt-free in 9.5 years. So, if you remember, what did I say at the beginning? Their mortgage was going to be paid off in 13 years. We're actually lowering their monthly debt obligation. We're lowering the amount that they're paying per month. So in this scenario, we would actually be lowering the amount they're paying by $375, right? If I'm paying an extra $1,000 a month. And oh, by the way, I'm knocking 4 years off the mortgage. Oh, by the way, you're completely debt-free. If you continued paying this $2,700 a month on all of your monthly debt obligations, would you be debt-free in 9.5 years? And the answer is no. So this is a very, very cool tool that we have that at our disposal as homeowners that people don't necessarily use, that people don't necessarily that they think maybe there's so many objections to it, right? But when you look at it, and when if you reach out to me and I show you in this spreadsheet, it's very simple to use. I'll tell you straight up if it doesn't make sense. Hey, you know what? You only have so many years left on your mortgage. Let's look at possibly doing a private loan and get those credit cards paid off, or you don't have enough to roll that in. But some people, I'll be honest with you, some people actually do, like where this scenario, where they were making it just fine. They didn't think they had any issues, but now that I showed them this and I showed them that what we could do, like, hey, if you pay $375 less than you're paying right now after this refinance, you put the extra $1,000 a month and now you have $375 left over in your budget, then more, $375 more than what you had before. Check it out. Now you're able to completely be debt free in 9.5 years, and perfect time. If we're retiring in 6 years, you're telling me that if you're retiring in 6 years and you only have to make 3 years of house payment, 36 house payments, and your house is paid off? Well, that sounds pretty good. That sounds pretty good to me. So this is a great tool. Now, what this borrower has actually elected to do with one of my financial advisor partners that they'll be reaching out as soon as we close. They've already talked about what they want to do. Here we go. Let's use this example. We have $1,375 difference in monthly payments, right? So we saved them $1,375. Their new obligation is $1,325. They want to just make those monthly payments. They want to make the minimum on the mortgage for 30 years because what they're going to do with this $1,375 is they're going to start to invest. Okay. So plug this in real quick. So what they're telling me is now I do need to preface with I am not a financial advisor. I've talked enough with financial advisors, but this is a good idea. And let me explain this to you real quick. This is just a good idea of what maybe you could get as a return if you did work with a local financial advisor and have a portfolio set up with them. So a lot of financial advisors say that a 6% interest rate of return is very conservative. So that's the number we're going to go with. Okay. Now, if you took that $1,375 per month that we're saving and started a brokerage account, right? Let's say $0. We're coming into this thing cold. And we're going to set this up, and it's going to be $1,375 per month. The difference of what I was paying, I'm now going to pay myself for 15 years. All right, so let's reverse this. Let's just say, so we know this borrower was retiring in 6 years, okay? But let's say this was somebody that was 50 years old, right? Did the same scenario. 50 years old, they're not retiring until 65. They have 15 years left. And they're going to put in $1,375 per month for 15 years. What exactly would their portfolio be worth? Well, that's pretty crazy. So now this borrower has turned the equity in their home into cash to pay off their debt, to open up their budget of what they're spending monthly. They're going to take the money that they saved, that they were paying people for their outstanding debt, and they're now going to pay themselves. And now in 15 years, when they're ready to retire, yeah, you know what? We still have 15 years left on our mortgage. But here's the nice part about real estate is that even if it does depreciate, even if we have a period of a decline in property values, right? Where everybody is telling me, oh, Michael, there's a boom coming. There's a bubble. It's about to pop. Property values are going to go down. It's going to be 2007 all over again. Don't get me started on how it's not going to be. But even if property values go down in the future, they still trickle back up. Just like after 2007, they trickled back up. So in 15 years, when you go to sell, there's a great chance that your home is going to be worth more than it is today. And as that asset appreciates, you're also paying down the mortgage on it. Right? So your equity just keeps increasing and keeps increasing. So if I take that money that we're saving right now, that we're used to spending, right? The money, that $1,375 that we were spending already, we put it in a brokerage account. We get that interest to start compounding. In 15 years, we have $400,000 in a brokerage account. Oh, by the way, that house that was worth $275,000 today, hopefully should be worth about $350,000, if not $400,000 in 15 years. My mortgage is $172. By that time, I should have it paid down almost half, right? Should have it paid down quite a bit. So let's say my mortgage is at $100,000. Well, now I have $300,000 in equity, and I have $400,000 in a brokerage account. And realistically, you never spent any more of your budget. You didn't have to save more money. You didn't have to live any more frugal than what you currently were. So this is such a cool scenario. And this is it's an easy way to build wealth. And it's something that a lot of financial advisors in the area that we've talked about. And it's something that, if you're in this situation, if this screen looks like you, even if it's something similar, this is something that I would love for you guys to reach out and talk about and see if it makes sense for you. Even if you're sitting there we have had so many customers in 2020 and 2021, that with the rates that start with a 2 and some that start with a 1, and most of them start with 2s and 3s, that are still paying this 29.99% on a $35,000, $30,000, $25,000, $50,000 credit card balance. And why not? Why not look at doing a refinance? That is so much. If right now the going rate's a 4.625 for you, or maybe a 5%, or maybe 5.5%, that's, to be honest with you, does it matter how much the interest rate is on your mortgage if it's at 5% when you're paying 30% on, $35,000, $40,000, $50,000 in credit card debt? I'll be the one to let you know. I will absolutely let you know. So that is something I encourage everybody to look at, especially if you're not thinking about moving anytime soon. If you're in your house and you're forever home, you're not planning on leaving, this is something you guys got to look at if you have outstanding debt. And then turn that debt into something. Turn that debt into a brokerage account. Be creative. Talk with a financial advisor. I'll put you in touch with a great financial advisor that will make sure that you have a great portfolio set up and it's ready. So whenever it's, if you want to change this and you want it to be 10 years, right? You're retiring in 10 years, or maybe you only want to put $400 in there, right? Or maybe you want to cash out and pull $50,000 out of your account or out of your equity and put it in, and then do it for 10 years and also put $400 in, right? I mean, there's so much that you can do with the equity in your home. But the number one thing is that when people come up to me and they say, Michael, I have a ton of equity in my home. I say, great, but what are you doing with it? And they say nothing. I'm like, well, you have no equity. You're not doing anything with it. You have zero equity. So use it to help you build wealth. Now, I'm not telling you if you're debt free and you have a great portfolio, come in here and cash out, refinance your house and do it for 30 years, take that money and put it in the market. I'll run the numbers for you if it makes sense, but that's not what I'm saying. But there is a lot of us that have this scenario, that look like this, that need to start building, saving for the future, and we don't have the money, the extra money in our budget to do that. Well, let me free it up for you. Let me keep your budget the same. Let me lower your budget a little bit and still throw some money in here. There's opportunity out there, and there's an opportunity to use somebody else's money to build your wealth. Stop pouring your money into credit cards. Stop pouring your money into private loans. Stop pouring your money into all sorts of other installment debt. Use the equity that you have in your home. Let's build it. Let's use it as a tool to build your net worth. So again, if you guys have any questions, if you guys have, I talk about this until I'm blue in the face. So for me, it's fairly easy. But if you guys have any questions, please, you guys, with your own personal consultation and see if it makes sense for you. Because again, it doesn't necessarily make sense for everybody, but it may make sense for you. And it's a cool tool. It's this is something I'm pretty passionate about just because it's very simple to do and use other people's money to help increase our net worth and get rid of those credit cards and start paying ourselves for once. So any questions, again, reach out. And I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Everybody that tuned in, we actually had a pretty good more people than that accepted. So that's great. And I'm hoping to do a few more of these as well as time goes on. So thanks for watching, and sorry I wasn't more entertaining, and it was just a spreadsheet, but we'll get them more entertaining as the future goes on. So again, thanks so much. You guys have a great night.